What would this channel be if I didn't try to capitalise on a trend? Procedural generation in games is something I find so fascinating, but as I don't have the brain capacity for it, I've always left it alone. If you don't know, procedural generation is when data is created via an algorithm and not by a developer. This means a game can create their own set of rules for a given concept. Example, Minecraft's terrain is procedurally generated. You don't have one person placing each block one by one, obviously. Not by any means will you be seeing Minecraft terrain in today's video, but simplified versions of the same concept. Make sure you stay to the end where I spawn in 200,000 models procedurally generated at the same time. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, Blakey here and welcome back to another video. Today's concept is primarily supplied through the help of a man known as Matt Mirrorfish. I will leave his channel link in the description, probably, as this is where my knowledge of today's video come from. Well, his knowledge. But anyway, my goal this week was to build an army that is different every single time we play the game. But an army of what, you may ask? I was debating what to use and I decided to model the character from everybody's favourite game, Among Us. The game you can't enter any corner of the internet without hearing right now. So I don't know how to model anything other than deform the default cube, so of course I needed some help on modelling this thing. Modelling this guy was actually quite fun and I learnt a lot. Now I did rush the model, so it's not perfect, and as a result of this, when I dragged him into Unity, there were some annoying artifacts on his head, which I could not be bothered to fix. So to get around this, I just turned the character into a low poly model with the click of a button, and boom, now it looks like a character I made. Nice. Now we had a basic model of the character. Back to the whole army thing, I needed to break this down into multiple steps. Firstly, can we spawn in just one model in a random position, then choose randomly between colours, then spawn in multiple, have them rotate in random positions, then ensure they don't overlap, then ensure they can stand on multiple floors, and finally just spam as many as we can and give them fake guns to scare people away. So firstly, I wanted to make a few of the same model, just different colours, to give the game a nice variety to choose from. That was simple enough, I had no issues. Now to have them choose between the colours, I just used the random.range function, which literally does the randomness for me, and told the game to choose between 3 and slap their choice in a specific position. Right, let's test this out. Oh, why? Yeah, he's had enough. He's well and truly had enough. Same, I've had enough as well. Right, the reason that happens is somewhere along the way from Blender to Unity, the game just says lol and puts him at a 90-degree angle. So I just counteracted this in Blender by setting him at a negative 90-degree axis, if that makes sense. Probably don't. Anyway, now we can see the game chooses between the 3 colours and randomises it each time we start. Very nice. The army has begun. Next, I want to randomise the position the character spawns in within an area, and to do this was also relatively simple. We just define an area using floats, and again use random.range to give the game the choice on where they want to slap in our little army men. Then we can just spawn in wherever we want and whatever colour we want. Well, what the computer wants. It is of course their choice and not ours. So we are well on our way to building a procedurally generated team of Among Us characters. We still have a lot of work to do. At the moment they face the same way and there is also only one of them, and they don't have a placebo gun yet either. Enough waffling, back to work. So to make multiple spawn at the same time, it's using syntax that looks a little bit confusing, but actually is a simple concept. It's something called a for loop. This basically means it will do the same thing over and over until a given number is met. In our case, however many we want to spawn. I chose 10 to start with. So I put 10 into the loop and it will use my spawn function 10 times at the start of the game. It's very simple and also very versatile. You would be surprised just how long it took for me to get to grips with for loops. Now, with these number of rules given to the computer, it can use that big brain of his to spawn in 10 little guys, all in random positions with different colours. Brilliant. But what if there's stairs? It is all over for these guys. We need to know that they can spawn and land on them, as at the moment they are all spawning on the same x-axis and don't take into account any floor. To change this, the best method I used is raycasts, which are basically lines we can use to check for objects and other stuff. It's kind of like using debug, but you can also use it in games as well, if that makes sense. Again, it probably doesn't. But anyway, We use this by making a script which sends a raycast directly underneath each game object's feet, and if they find floor, land on it. This means we can have multiple heights and they should all land on them, and after a couple of changes here and there, it works. Except you can probably see that they're currently standing in the floor, and I don't remember this being the effect I wanted. Now, I was unsure on what method to use to fix this, as I didn't want to change the point of origin back in Blender, as that takes effort and we don't use that word over in this channel. So I used a trick where right as they are spawned in, we move them exactly 0.58 meters. I don't know what metric, but 0.58 something high on the x-axis. We use this exact number as this is exactly how high they need to be for their feet to touch the ground. And I found this out using vertex snapping, which helps me snap objects to other objects. Now it looks great. It would be cool to have IK feet, which is when the feet will be separate from the body and angle themselves to uneven ground like in real life, but that requires a whole lot of effort for somebody who can't code. So maybe that is a concept for another video. In today's, I'm happy with them just balancing on one foot. Another thing you may notice is that they now randomly rotate, and this is extremely simple to add. We just use random rotation and set that to the rotation of each character, meaning its rotation will in fact be random. The last thing I wanted to add before we start adding more to build our Among Us army is to make sure they don't overlap, because as you can see they can kind of mold into one, and we don't want any mutant Among Us characters, not until Halloween anyway. Again, I used the same method of raycasts, checking if there is a collider directly below us, and if there is, don't spawn one. This does mean that I might not spawn the given number every time, as that is just the way the code works using a for loop. Maybe another time we could expand upon this and make it so they will spawn every time and they will just try a different area. Now we have 10 players in different positions, height levels, colours and rotations. Now all we need to do is add some more blocks and add some more players. But first, I think it's time they get a fake gun to scare anybody off. So I used a gun model I made a few months back and made it way smaller and angled it so the player was holding it. I made it a child of each prefab so it was spawning with the models, and that seems to be working brilliantly with no issues. I could start the game and they will generate with guns. Nice. Right, how many can we go up to before Unity has had enough of us? Let's start with 50 with a bigger area. It looks pretty good and this flat land does look safe, but not safe enough. Let's double it. Alright, that is a little better, but let's try and double it again. 200. That's good, but I can still see some gaps and we can't have gaps. Let's try 500. Right, that right there is a pretty hefty amount, and I'm quite glad I made these characters low poly, as I'm not sure my computer would be such a fan of this army building challenge. We do have to keep in mind that the exact number will not spawn every time, as there will be many times when they choose not to spawn as they just don't have space. The one flaw to this generation method. Right, screw it, 1000. We are starting to lose those gaps, now it looks more like an army. Right, 2000 is starting to look ridiculous, but not enough. 5,000? Alright, that is a lot, that's a lot. Alright, 10,000. There we go, that's really filled up now, but there is still a few gaps. Can we fill those in? Let's find out. What about 15,000? We're getting there. This right here is a proper army. 30,000. Those gaps are basically filled up now, and my PC is starting to hate me, but this does look so satisfying. Alright, 60,000. And we are starting to see the limit now, I think, but we can increase the number still to keep filling gaps. Right, screw it. 200,000. Right, I think any higher and it will begin to be pointless, and also my PC may cry right in front of me, and I don't want that. So we have successfully managed to build an army of Among Us players using procedural generation. I hope you enjoyed, as I did learning about it. Make sure to like the video if you did, and subscribe if you are new, of course. Guys, I will thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.